I know a lot of Vijay fans and I know a lot of movie fans that are kind of sad about the fact that Vijay is going to be retiring from cinema after his 69th film, but this should not come as a surprise to a lot of people because he's been hinting at this for quite some time. At his movie audio launches and also movie events, his speeches have become kind of an event on its own. Obviously, he talks about his political ideologies, his personal ideologies, his philosophical ideologies, and they become kind of like a precursor to what possibly he would be like as a leader if he is going to lead a political party. Now, obviously, he hasn't played a politician in a film yet, but his political ideologies and his political commentary towards what he wants to do with his party have been hinted in his films here and there. Now, obviously, he is going to retire from films and from cinema in general when he goes into politics. But let's look back at some films that kind of hinted at the idea of Vijay becoming a politician before he formally announced it just recently. I don't know if you remember this or not, but even before Vijay launched his political party just recently, back in 2009, Vijay launched his fan club initiative service, which was going to be called Vijay Makkal Mandram. And this is the logo for the initiative. Now, the initiative even had a theme song. I remember before either Villu or Vetekaran, there was like this promo video that they put having a flag waving with this logo on it. But yeah, this initiative did like a lot of services for the community, and it was kind of his first step into politics before obviously launching into politics just a few weeks ago. And here's an honorable mention that I had to talk about before even getting into the films that Vijay actually starred in with political commentary slash ideology in them. And that honorable mention is Mudalvan. Now, Mudalvan was actually first offered to Vijay by Shankar because Shankar used to be Vijay's dad's assistant director. And before Arjun got the role, apparently Rajinikanth and Vijay were offered the roles. Rajinikanth couldn't do it because he apparently went into like a semi-retirement at the time, and Vijay felt that he was a little too young for the role. But yeah, maybe in an alternate universe, we would have seen Vijay go into politics a little bit earlier because he had done this film. Before doing the movie Thamaran, most of Vijay's films were in the comedy, drama, and romance genres. And I would say that Thamaran was his first initial instance in doing a politically charged film, and it was his first initial spark of showcasing his political aspirations that he will fulfill later on in his career. Now, at this point in his career, he never really done a politically charged movie, and in the movie, he plays a lawyer fighting against corruption. He doesn't play a politician in the film, but this was kind of like his own way of doing a Mudalvan because obviously he lost out on that role because he felt like he was a little too young for that role. So, in a way, this was kind of like his own version of Mudalvan, the film that he lost out on. And from here on out, he started slowly showcasing his political aspirations, his political ideologies, and what he was trying to aspire in terms of community service as well. Though Thamaran was a big success at the box office, Vijay decided to do other films in the meantime, and then returned into a politically minded movie with the film Madara. Now in the film Madara, it starts off like any other Vijay movie, but then it gets revealed in the flashback sequences that Vijay's character was actually an IAS collector. That is a government position, and then the movie becomes a little more politically charged. Now, Madara was a success as well, and also wasn't as a politically charged commentary towards like society and whatnot in comparison to Thamaran, but it was another movie that was hinting at his political aspirations slowly but surely. So for the years after Madara, a lot of the films were action-oriented, and he returned into a politically minded movie with the film Velayudham. Now technically I would consider Velayudham as another action film, but it has a lot of political commentary into it because he plays a vigilante who is fighting against crime and corruption. Again, this film ended up becoming a big success, and from Velayudham, he started doing politically minded movies a little more frequently. Even though Vijay didn't get to do Mudalvan, he finally got to unite with Shankar for the film Nanban. Now, Nanban is a remake of the film Three Idiots. Three Idiots is, in my personal opinion, one of the greatest films of all time, one of my personal favorites, and I would consider Nanban as a solid and enjoyable remake. It's not as good as Three Idiots, but it is solid. Now, even though this film is not as politically charged as the other films on this list, it does have a huge political point to it: education. Education is something that Vijay has been talking about for a long time. He's done a lot of initiatives with his fan club in terms of helping out people in terms of education, so on and so forth. And this film, its whole plot is about education reform, how people need to study whatever they want to study and follow what they want to follow. And it is a little bit kind of like in tune with whatever Vijay feels about in terms of education reform and education, like knowledge in terms of like people going about what they want to do in their life. So yeah, I would say that even though this movie is not as politically charged as the other films, it still follows suit with his political aspirations in terms of education reform. So I considered Nanben as probably one of the films to highlight in this list. Now here is where Vijay was really delving into his political aspirations. Now Taleva is technically a gangster movie, but it is a thinly veiled political commentary towards Vijay's aspirations as a leader. In the movie, he is a person that is technically a gangster, but is fighting for the people, doing what is right for the people, and fighting against corruption, so on and so forth. Now, there was a lot of problems with this movie in terms of release, and there was a lot of political pressure, and a lot of people are saying that because the movie was titled Taleva, this is kind of his way of saying like he's going into politics. And he didn't go into politics right then and there, but he kind of jump-started and really delved deeper into his political aspirations with his films and the film choices that he was making. With the film Katti, it was not thinly veiled commentary anymore, it was actually deeper political commentary. In the film, his characters fighting against corporations that are misusing agriculture and destroying the lives of farmers and destroying the land as well. This was a huge blockbuster. It started a lot of conversations and actually started a lot of debates as well, and also started the trend of Tamil cinema movies talking about agriculture issues as well. And after Katti, his films became even more deeper into political commentary. And then in 2017, both of Vijay's films were talking about very big subjects in political circles. For Bhairava, the subject was medical colleges and admissions with medical colleges. And even though the film was like somewhat of a success, it was the first film in the year talking about a medicinal related political issue. Later on in 2017, he had one of the biggest blockbusters in his entire career, Mersal. Like Bhairava, it also talked about medicinal issues and also the malpractices that were happening in the medical field. And the end speech in this movie was kind of controversial at the time, became a very big talking point in debate shows. And this movie was another instance of showcasing his political aspirations. Now, Mersal became a huge blockbuster, and he followed this up with probably his most politically charged movie. And that movie was Sarkar. Now, Sarkar, in my personal opinion, was not as good as the other two Vijay and Murugadas collaborations that they had done to this point. Tupaki and also Katti were a lot better in terms of quality, but I do commend and I do applaud the fact that both of them did the film the way that they did, because this movie is very outright and to the point and very politically charged. It talked about a lot of subjects including electoral fraud, electoral reform needed to avoid that fraud, and some other political issues shown throughout the film. I like the fact that they were very uncensored in this movie, but the movie wasn't as big of a hit as some of the other films on this list, and it wasn't as big of a hit as the other two films that they had done together. And after Sarkar, Vijay didn't really do a lot of films that were kind of politically minded. They were more action-oriented again, but his speeches on stage were kind of like fun to watch because he was kind of hinting at political aspirations that he had. Now, obviously, he is starting up his party, and in 2 years' time, after he does his next two films, he's going to retire from cinema and go into politics. So, best of luck to Vijay. We'll see how he goes in the political realm. And if you want, revisit the films before he actually goes into politics and see what political ideologies and aspirations that he had from Tamarin to this point, and see kind of the evolving and the evaluation of how he went from that point to the point where he is now, where he can possibly become a person in political office.